What's going on, exploders? Welcome to the 50K Q&A video. I asked you to submit your questions and you did, and I thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for subscribing to this channel, obviously. Otherwise, there would be no 50K. There'd be no reason to make these videos. And I would just enjoy airsoft in my own quiet times. So thank you guys for giving me a reason to make these videos. I love sharing them with you, and knowing that people are watching them really helps a lot. You guys submitted some really good questions for this Q&A, and I picked out some of my favorites and I grouped them into categories because there seems to be some themes going on. So I'll try to keep my answers concise, even though I could kind of ramble on sometimes, and get to some of the better questions. So let's get going. A good way to kick off this Q&A is to answer a popular question that was asked several times, and that's about how I got into airsoft, what was my first airsoft gun, and my first airsoft game. I got into airsoft about 2006, and it was a natural transition from video games like it is for a lot of you guys. So at that time, I kind of got into my first real FPS shooter. It was Call of Duty 2, and that's a World War II based game before it got all modern and spacey. And it was a really great game, so I wanted to learn more. I wanted to experience something similar to that, and internet search, and I ended up with airsoft because stuff looked real, but you could also use it, and that was extremely appealing to me. Then I had to seek out where to play, and what I found around here at that time was Hollywood Sports and SC Village were the only real two places I could find to play. I think they had games every second and fourth Sunday of every month, and they alternated, I think, the weekends. So there's not a lot of options. Nowadays you could go play any day of the week. Back then it was you had to really make an effort, and there wasn't a lot of people. So I remember playing at HSP my first game, and it was at night for some reason. I don't know why I would go play my first game at night, but I remember I had my, at that time, girlfriend come with me, just so she could give me some kind of emotional support, I suppose, because to play airsoft really sucks by yourself. At that time, obviously, I didn't know anyone else who was into airsoft. Nobody even knew what airsoft was when I would talk to them. So I just had her come hang out with me. She was basically in the observation area, and I was out there doing I don't know what. But I guess I must have enjoyed it enough to keep it going. So here we are 10 years later, and I'm spending a large chunk of my free time, or in my busy time, working on airsoft stuff and airsoft accessories. So that's how it got started. Let's see. And then Megas asked the question, where did the name BrainExploder come from? And that was actually tied into Call of Duty. That was the username I created for that game, because I had to sign on and had to create a name, and I thought of the trolliest name I could come up with, something that's so stupid because I'm a level 0 noob starting this game, and I came up with the most ridiculous, over-the-top name, as if I'm some VIP sniper that's been playing video games for 1,000 years. I didn't really play any first-person shooters up to that point, so I was going to be horrible to start with, but I had the most ridiculous name, and then I used that to register like airsoft forums and everything else, and then it just kind of stuck with me, and now I really like it because I think it suits me well. Not that I'm that great of a shot or anything, but I'm always tinkering with stuff, so I'm using my brain. And when people see something they really like that I've made, or a video that I've made, they say their brain exploded. So it's all come full circle, and at this point, I'm real happy with the name. I was always happy with it. It was just such a stupid thing, and it's embarrassing to say it to people that don't know why I would have an internet name at all. So hopefully that answers your how this whole thing got started questions. Then I got some really good questions that I grouped into the general questions. They're not really themed. They're just all over the place. So Navrich, I don't know who this guy is, asks, you're running a new gun almost every single game. How much time do you spend fixing gun? Wait, I should do it in Navrich's voice. Hey guys, you're running a new gun almost every game. If Navrich was from the Middle East, he would sound like that. All right, forget it. No Austrian accent impersonations. So Navrich asks, you're running a new gun in almost every single game. How much time do you spend on fixing and set up problems on average on the field? Asking this because every time I try a new gun, nothing works and I don't get to play. So I could definitely feel where he's coming from that. I think one of the reasons people like my channel is because I have a lot of variety. I've gone through every kind of gun system out there, LMGs, you know, pistols, shotguns, lever action, sniper rifles, pretty much any system there is out in airsoft. But it is a pain in the butt. I mean, it's hard to complain about using a different gun all the time. I know some of you guys have one gun and you hope you'll get a second one sometime in your life. So I know no one's crying tears for me, but anytime I go out, I spend a lot of time prepping. Honestly, I spend more time prepping than I spend playing. I'm pretty much packing till the last few hours before I have to go to bed the night before. And stuff does go wrong. And just using a new gun, it takes time to get used to it. When you've been using a gun for a while, you know all its little quirks, and something goes wrong, you're like, oh, okay, this came loose, or this is jammed, or I need to play with the lever so it goes back to semi-auto, whatever. With a new gun, you're out there figuring all this stuff out on the field, which definitely doesn't make you a better player, because you need to focus on getting those hits and finding cover instead of figuring out why the mag's not feeding. GoPro, start recording. Freaking GoPro. The stupid GoPro camera keeps turning out. Pain in my ass right now. What I would say is if you're using a new gun, spend a lot of time with it before you go out on the field if you want to be effective. So now, Rich, to answer your question, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, and I experience some of your woes as well, but I try to iron out as many issues as I can before I ever get on the field. I really like this next question because one user asked half of it and the other user asked the other half of it. So Hendrik Luik asks, what do you think is the most overrated airsoft piece of equipment and gear? And then Matthew Ostermeyer, I guess all the Scandinavians decided to ask these questions, asks, also, what is the most underrated piece of gear? So most overrated, most underrated. Most overrated, I think, are airsoft iron sights. Everyone always, when they do some gear loadout, they're like, okay, I have my optic here, and then I have my iron sights in case my optic goes down. Okay, tier 0 operator. Like, first of all, who the hell uses iron sights? Most people can't even get their mesh mask or their paintball mask down low enough to look through them. And then who in airsoft has time to line up the two, the loop and the post and actually hit anything? If you're using iron sights, you're just walking the BBs in. They're just strictly there for looks. But every loadout video, oh, these are my backup sights in case my optic goes down. Okay, your optic goes down. Go change the batteries. Your life's not on the line. I get it. It's fun, and they look good and they make for tactical looking guns, but let's not make it look like let's not act like it's the life and death situation, these backup sights. I think those are people take them a little too seriously. The most underrated piece of gear is a good optic, actually, so the question kind of ties in nicely. For me, my EOTech is probably the best purchase I've made. Versus the iron sights, where it's such a pain in the ass to actually look through them, a red dot sight, and the quality one, not some janky airsoft knockoff, but a real one designed for real steel and kind of in the upper level, makes a huge difference. I love my EOTech. I know it's got some of the EOTechs have gotten a bad rep, but bar none, my favorite thing that I put on the gun, and it goes on almost every gun. Along those lines, a little more of a lower priced item is gloves. Not only taking those hand shots that just lessens that pain just enough to where it's not a huge thing, and digging around in the dirt, crawling around the dirt, they help a lot. So when I see a player out there with no gloves, I can almost certainly assume it's one of their first few games, because you play a few games with no gloves and you'll realize why you need gloves. So gloves and a good optic, those are my two favorites. This question is relevant because I kind of am feeling it right now, but DWA asks, what is your hardest moment when starting YouTube? I think the hardest part is when you start YouTube, assuming you have no followers, no subscribers. But you have to make videos as if you have a bazillion subscribers. Because if you're out there like, oh, I hope someone watches this crap and let me act as if no one's watching, then no one's going to watch because it presents itself that way. So you got to act as if there's a room full of people that are all just dying to hear your thoughts. which of course is not true. Right now I'm sitting in my garage talking to myself like a crazy person. Hopefully none of my neighbors can hear me. So the hardest part is getting into that state of mind where you're talking to your subscribers and you're talking to a real person and they're listening to you, not just talking to the camera. So once you kind of get over that, I think your videos become more interesting, a little more inclusive and more interactive, and people feel like you're sort of talking to them, not just at the camera. Dean Carey asks, hey BrainExploder, I don't know my own name. Hi BrainExploder, my question is, if you had unlimited money, what would be your dream loadout and gun? Be specific, please. Love the videos and keep up the great work. So when I read this question originally, because I'm like semi-dyslexic, self-diagnosed, I thought he meant like my dream scenario. I don't know how I got that. There's no mention of my scenario. So I already had thought of that question. I had a great answer for it that I've been sitting on for a while, but it sort of involves airsoft guns. But my dream scenario would be go-karts plus airsoft. So what would happen is you have those 2-person electric go-karts, electric, because I hate the gas ones. All you do is breathe in CO2 all day long, or CO1, well, whatever. I'm not a science major, okay? Carbon monoxide. Yeah, CO1, I guess. I don't know. So you have electric go-karts, 2-seaters. One person's the driver and one person's the shooter. You get some kind of gun that's not super rapid fire. So maybe like a spring shotgun so that you have to pump in between shots. And then each card has a sensor on the back or a target, something human head size, that if it's hit, the go-kart slows down. So the driver's focused on the driving, the shooter's focused on taking out people in front of the driver. I'm gonna kill this GoPro. It keeps turning off every freaking 7 minutes for some unknown reason. GoPro, start recording. At least I can yell at it so it starts recording. So you're driving, the driver's focused on driving, the shooter's focused on shooting at the target. So when the target is hit, the go-kart slows down a little bit. So you're having a race, but the shooters are altering the race. So if you have a good driver and a good shooter, they're instead of just tailgating the opponent, because those go-karts, they're not exactly, they don't go blow past each other. Your co-pilot puts a good shot on it, slows down, you go past them, they shoot you, they go past you. I think most of this is very doable. There's electric go-karts and there's 2-seater go-karts. There's spring shotguns, obviously. So all you really need is a sensor, but that would be a super fun thing to do, and I think it would make for a really great fast-paced video that's airsoft and racing. I mean, it's like 2 of my favorite things combined. Not answering the question properly, but that's what my dream thing would be, because I got plenty of guns as it is, and now it's like trying to do something fun with the guns. So that's kind of phase 2. So hopefully that half answers your question, but maybe gives somebody out there a good idea for something fun to try. I'd be willing to participate in this if anyone comes up with this actual event ever. As you would expect, there was a lot of questions about 3D printing. So one of the themes they kept seeing is, what 3D printer do I use? And I use the Up 2 Plus, and it's a little printer. It's a small printing bed. I think it's about 5.5 by 5.5 by like 6 inches. So that's pretty small, but it's been really good to me. I really like it. It has 2 features that you should look for in a printer, and that's a self-leveling nozzle or auto-leveling and a self-leveling bed. Otherwise, you gotta manually adjust that stuff, and that could be a pretty time-consuming feature. This thing's really good. It's been solid. It pretty much never fails on me. I'll promote this printer till GoPro start recording before I break you in half. The printer's been solid. It's been recording so solid. You think solid means stop, you piece of shit? Voice control is a waste of time on this camera when you're doing any talking. It's a really great printer. Been really good to me. A couple of clogs here and there, but that's like standard fare with 3D printers. So highly recommend it. It's about half the price that I bought it for now, so it's still a really great choice. I'll put a link to it down in the description. And then along the same lines, people want to know, what program do I use? I use Blender 3D, free program. You could get it just off the internet. It's not the most intuitive program. Everything's like reversed compared to something like Photoshop, but after you use it for a few days, you'll start getting the hang of it. So it's free, it's worth a shot. Check it out. Equal asks, why don't you mass produce your products in China or something? You 3D print items at home, so they're pricey, right? Why not get them made somewhere else and get the price down? Well, I actually don't. The stuff you order, I don't 3D print at home. It's printed by Shapeways, and that's a company that all it does is 3D print stuff. And the process they use is not really a home process. It's a powder SLA printing, laser hardened, and they make really solid stuff. This stuff is really quality. It's better than a lot of the molded pieces that you buy from China for sure. And what's nice about doing it that way versus doing it traditional manufacturing is the second I have an idea, I could have it printed at home the same day once I work it out. Then I maybe test it, maybe I field it. I typically get a prototype printed from Shapeways, so I double check everything fits. And then I could have it out to you guys in a couple of weeks. So it's a really streamlined process where I go from idea to production to distribution in a matter of weeks. Traditional manufacturing takes forever. I've been working with a company that this kind of relates to other questions that you guys asked about those shotgun shells for the revolver that I put out a while ago. And I've been working with a company for over a year now, and there's nothing to show for it yet because they have to deal with China. They have to deal with two different suppliers for the two different parts, even though it's the simplest product in the world, but you have to minimize the costs, and there's initial upfront costs where 3D printing is you design it and it's per print and it's just for material use basically in the machine space. So it's really straightforward, really fast, and I love that about it. Some of the stuff I designed is only relevant for a limited time because cameras come, cameras go. It's nice to be able to get it out there as soon as it's a finished product and it's suitable for distribution. So that's the main reason. A few of you asked some personal questions like about my background. So 860 Airsoft asks, I'm wondering what's your real background, real life line of work, because you have great skills in the airsoft community. Thank you. I think some of that translates from my real world skills. So I'm a graphic designer by trade. I worked in the toy industry for a while. Then I did graphic design, and then I did app development. So those are sort of the kind of the skills that have contributed to this, and that explains some of my gun collection, because the app that I worked on, I needed a lot of props, a lot of stuff for photo shoots. So I ended up collecting a lot of guns that were not really guns you would buy because you wanted to go and field them. My real line of work is kind of a hodgepodge, but I'm hoping to transition a lot of these skills into airsoft and parlay it into a career. Right now it's a straight up hobby. YouTube makes you like no money. I always tell people, they're like, oh, how much money do you make? And an easy estimate is look at a person's monthly views and divide that by 1,000, and you'll probably get about what they make per month. So if you're getting millions of views per month, you could make a living off of it. If you're getting a couple hundred thousand views per month, you could do the math. So YouTube's not my career. I hope to one day make it, but right now it's just a hobby that I just spend way too much time on, but I love every second of it. Century So E2 asks, how old are you? I am 34 years old. Dang, way too old to be playing with fake toy guns, that's for sure. To tie in with that question about kind of being older and being in airsoft, Mike1911 asks, how long do you plan on doing airsoft? I plan on doing it as long as I'm physically capable of doing it and I'm enjoying the sport. One of the people I kind of look to is CQB Russian. That guy is almost old enough to get I think he is old enough to get the discount at Denny's. So he's got like 20 years on me, and he's out there playing multiple times a week. I mean, I can't even keep up with this guy. So if I'm able to be in the shape he is at his age, I could thank airsoft for that, that would be a great trade-off. So I plan on keep on doing it as long as I can. I think it's a little weird sometimes playing, you got adults playing kids, but what's nice about an airsoft gun and a gun in general, it's kind of the great equalizer. a 12-year-old kid shooting the same gun I'm shooting, as far as like brute force, we have the same amount. Now, somebody could have more skill, somebody could be quicker, but there's not much of a disadvantage other than experience that you have with a younger player or an older player. So it's just a matter of who wants to put in the time and be better at the sport. In airsoft, everyone's kind of on the same playing field. There's rules, there's limitations. Now it's who can do the best within that rule set. Pile 1983 asks, what kind of personality are you? From what I've seen in your videos, you seem to be a perfectionist. Everything's clean, ordered, and in its right place. If you could see what's on the other side of this camera, you would not think that. I am super messy when I'm working. I don't need to have like a perfectly clean desk to get stuff done. I like the final product to be as perfect as possible, or the video to be as clean as possible. But on the way there, it doesn't really matter if everything's messy, stuff's all over the place. It's all part of the process, but the end product needs to be clean and the best it could be. So I'm definitely not a perfectionist or none of the OCD stuff. I just want the best result at the end, but how we get there, I really don't care, as long as it's the most efficient and the most the quickest way, I guess, and the most practical way. So I'm just really a practical person, but not a perfectionist, I would say. All right, and then kind of wrapping it up, a few were interested in my plans or airsoft travel plans. So Jonathan Santos asks, will you ever travel anywhere to play airsoft? Yeah, I'm definitely open to that right now. I travel maybe a maximum of like 70, 80 miles around my house. Luckily, I'm in Southern California where there's tons of choices, so I don't have to travel hundreds of miles to go play some pickup game. I have so many fields that once I cycle through all of them, I could start over again, and it keeps the videos fresh and it keeps me interested in it. But I'm definitely open to traveling, especially I gotta go with someone. I hate going to airsoft by myself. It's like the most annoying thing ever. Dana Pennington, along the same line, asks, any plans to attend any milsims? And I've definitely been playing around with the idea. I was loosely considering going to Copperhead, but I had some real life stuff come up that diverted me from that. That was much more important. But yeah, I want to do milsim, but I want to kind of start off with some milsim light. None of this 48 hours camping in the woods, making your own toilet in the ground type stuff. Not interested in that. Probably not really at all, but definitely not for my first milsim go and immerse myself so hard that I'll never want to go back to another one. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of work myself in, maybe some Operation Line Claws, some American milsim. There's a lot of stuff coming through here. My biggest fear is showing up to one of these things and not having the right gun or not having the right gear, and then the whole weekend is just shot. So I'm really, this is where my planning kind of helps, like making sure I know what to expect before I get there. So I strategize a lot before I go anywhere, and I want to get there, I want to be ready. And with the milsims, it's a lot of things to get right. So that's my biggest concern, is screwing something up. Also, I don't know if I'm physically fit for this stuff. I mean, I watch some of these videos and these guys are freaking there out running for like 8 hours a day. I get tired by lunch at most of these local fields, so I don't know if I have the stamina for milsim. But then I see some guys that are, you know, they've been to the Krispy Kreme more than once in their life, and they seem to be chugging along pretty well. So it's coming, it's gonna happen. Stay tuned to the channel. Alright, you guys, so I know you had a lot of questions and I only covered, you know, maybe 10 general questions, but who the hell wants to listen to me talk for this long anyway? I'm bored with myself. But hopefully they give you a little insight into some of my thoughts and into some of my background and some actual practical questions you want to know, like my 3D printer and whatever software I use. I'll link to anything relevant down below. Thank you guys for 50K, 50,000 subscribers. Let's keep it going. According to the YouTube stat predictor, I'm going to get to 100,000 subscribers in 2020. So let's prove that wrong. And thank you guys for watching my videos of me doing something that I really love. Thank you for supporting my Shapeways store. That helps out a lot. Keep watching and I'll keep making stuff. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.